Performance audio on. Check 1, 2. Hold on. That's weird. This is the first time this happened that I am aware of. And I can delete all this and restart. Performance audio on. Check 1, 2. Hold on.
There you go.
That's weird. This is the first time this happened that I am aware of. And I can delete all this and restart. Performance audio on. Check 1, 2. Hold on. Here, why don't you go ahead and talk to see if people can actually hear you now?
Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Hopefully you can hear my voice. There you go.
That's weird. This is the first time this happened.
Go.
Good. Okay, cool. All right. So we're on live officially. I'll just edit the beginning of that out. So I didn't even get to nobody heard anything in the beginning there. So this was, what happens when you're live sometimes. So let me just do this over again. Welcome everybody to Feedback Friday. This is Christian, your host, obviously Real Estate Investing Made Easy. It is time to make it easy. And I have a really special guest here that I'm excited to speak with, share what, her questions are, because she is actually my wife, and here she is, beautiful Veronica Weatherspoon. And, while we're going to go through a lot of great stuff when it comes to how to get started and scale a real estate investing business, creative financing and beyond, because I know some of the questions that are going to be asked already. The first question I have is actually for Veronica, and that is, when I first got started in real estate investing, it's a question about what her reaction was, because I'm sure that many of you have had the same reaction with people that you know in your life. So that won't come as a shock or a surprise to you. People asking you something similar to, what Veronica thought. So talk to me, tell me what did you think about what I did when we first met years ago?
Okay, actually I had two thoughts. The first was that it was shady. Like, I don't understand how you make so much money without having to put in so much money. It just seemed like not legal. And then the second thing was, it just went over my head. Like, people would ask me all the time, what does your fiance Christian do? And I would say, I don't know, something to do with real estate, but he's not a real estate agent. He does like other stuff with real estate. Go talk to him and ask him about it. So, but obviously now, over the years, I've learned that what you do is really strategic, is helpful to the buyer, to the seller, to the investor. And I'm excited on this live, to continue to learn more about what you do.
Awesome. Well, you have a whole lineup of questions and everything. So, but I will say, you know what, the shady part is, and I've been a coach since 2009, investing in real estate. And what I discovered was, when I first got started, there was a big question mark around that too. Are you a real estate agent? Like, how does that differ? And that was one of the biggest questions that I got. Many of you watching, though, you're already in real estate investing, so you already know the distinction. But there's a lot of other questions for those of you who are just finding out and you're typing in, how do I make real estate investing easy, that you're going to be going over. So just shoot. What are some of those questions that you had for me?
Do you want me to start off, or are we going to take some from the audience?
Nope, you.
Okay. I think the one we were most excited to talk about was when a potential property comes your way, a lead comes through, how do you know which investing strategy is the best fit for that property? Because I know, I'm going to throw out a bunch of words, but, actually, I'm not going to throw out a bunch of words because they're all over my head now, but you've shared a lot of different investing strategies with me here and there. And I'm just curious, like, how do you know which one to apply to a specific property? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What is your process? How do you know how to apply what strategy to this? And really, the truth is, it's dictated by the property itself. There are ways to get strategic about pulling lists so that you can generate a specific avatar or prospective seller that will turn into a lead. So from a prospect list that is, let's just say, subject to, right? When we're looking for subject to purchases to take over the existing mortgage, what we're not going to do is pull a list of prospects that don't have a mortgage, because we're not going to be able to take over the property subject to the existing mortgage
if the mortgage doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So
They paid it off.
there's no mortgage in place. So obviously it's not going to be a strategy that you're going to deploy with that type of list. So it's really the property itself that dictates what the exit strategy is. And when you're talking about exit strategies, I know you're referring to wholesale, you're referring
Right.
to rehab or a listing referral. Those are the three main strategies for real estate investing that a lot of people are doing right now, especially as newer, but also even as seasoned real estate investors. But there are so many other types of creative strategies. So I know I might feel like I kind of dodged the question. You can dig deeper and, ask the right questions. I'll produce a more context to it. But ultimately, the easy answer is it's just dictated by the property itself.
I guess my follow-up question then is like, you can have a property and have an idea of what the best exit strategy is, I guess is what you call it. Um, you know, and this is kind of a follow-up question, like how do you kind of share that strategy with the seller, or the real estate agent that they might be working with, I'm sure in those conversations, especially if you're using a less traditional exit strategy, those can be tough conversations. So, again, like you might have an idea of what you want to do with a property, but does the game kind of change once you start to talk to the seller or whoever is invested in the property already?
No, the game doesn't change once you start talking to the seller because you don't even know what the game is until you talk to the seller.
Mm,
Right. So if we get on the phone with somebody who is in pre-foreclosure and they have what are called arrears to the tune of $15,000, let's just say an example is their property ostensibly is worth $200,000. They have $15,000 in arrears. That means that we have to pay those arrears, catch them up to keep their mortgage current. Whether we do a subject to or not, it depends because when I say it's a $200,000 house, you might be thinking, and you guys watching might be thinking that what that means is, oh, you're obviously going to take it over subject to. Well, that might not actually be the case. And here's another reason why. What if they then also have a second position lien that where they owe $100,000 on the house? And this is, our appraised value. Let's say if a broker were to go in there, their broker's price opinion would be, oh, your house is only actually worth, $90,000. Well, we're not going to try and do a subject to. We're going to have to talk about a short sale situation. So that's not going to
mm,
be, dictated by us whether or not we're going to do one exit strategy or another. The property itself and through the discovery and your analysis is going to dictate where you need to turn and pivot. And that's the power when it comes to understanding creative financing strategies. Not that short sales are necessarily creative financing strategies, but that's just to say that when you have all of the 13, 14, 15 creative financing strategies that we teach in the creative REI intensive, just for one point of fact, then you're able to know whether or not you're going to be able to monetize off that property. And frankly, above and beyond the quote normal investor who doesn't know how to do a novation, who
mm,
doesn't know how to do a slot deal or a sandwich lease option or a lease option or note investing or bond for deed or any of these other creative strategies that could actually get you money. Those are called in most investors' businesses dead leads.
mm.
We can't monetize off them. So you let the property, knowing all of the tools that you have in your arsenal of exit strategies or creative financing opportunities or just creative structures, then you'll be able to deploy them once you get more information about the seller and their motivation and their needs, and then create a solution from there.
That's cool. I like that. I like that there's like a listening portion and a discovery portion, once the lead comes your way. You know this, but for the audience that doesn't, I actually recruit for a defense contractor. And it's sort of the same process in a way. I come into the conversation with an idea of, the kind of role that might be great for that person's skill set. But it isn't until I hop on the phone and understand, like, what is their career motivation? What skills do they actually have? And what types of opportunities are they willing to entertain before we kind of get to, the right role for them. So that's kind of neat that there's that similarity. Just obviously you're working with properties and sellers, and I'm working with, you know, candidates in their careers.
Yep, exactly. And welcome. I welcome Payne. What's going on? Any anything you want to add, anything you want to share, whether it's questions or learning lessons for anyone else who's jumping on here that you've had in your business, please share it. We're also going to be taking questions live, of course. And I need to put myself on camera too. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Veronica. So the truth is, at the beginning, we started this off with you saying that you thought that it was shady. What was I'm going to ask you a question now. What was one of the, in terms of real estate investing, aha moments that you had through knowing me, discovery, whatever it was, that then you realized, hey, this isn't actually shady. My husband, well, fiance, boyfriend, whatever it was during that time, he's not actually stealing people's money or whatever.
That's a really good question. I think the first like big aha moment for me in that journey was when you were starting to partner with people that I knew, that you knew, friends that were looking for properties to invest in and just didn't know where to begin. And I like I mentioned, the part that was shady to me at first was like, how are you making all this money and not investing like our family's money into these deals and into these properties? And the answer was you were connecting these great leads with people that were looking to invest. And I realized that's a service in and of itself, like to have the expertise to understand, like you mentioned, the right exit strategy, to be aware of the properties that are on the market that are going to yield the best, I guess, the best return for investment for, the friends and family members that, we're working with right now, that you're working with, to help their money make more money. And so that was the first time where I realized, okay, so that answers that shady, quote unquote, part of what I thought that you did. And realizing that it's a win for them and it's a win for you, and the value and the service that you guys provide is really important, because most of the people that you are working with and helping to invest and make a return on their money, they don't really know anything about real estate, but obviously you do. So that's what you're bringing to the table, and that's what people are paying you for.
Right. Yeah, you're talking about private money lenders. So
Yes.
yeah, there are people. Actually, I just got off the phone with one of my friends for the last 30 years, and I feel really old saying that I have a friend that has been my friend for 30 years. But he's in the Air Force, and he has two jobs. He's a pilot. He flies jets. So, I guess the term is certified badass. But he is really, really, ostensibly, you would say like that guy is super successful, and it's true, but he's got goals beyond what ultimately, even at the upper echelon of his career, could take him financially. He also has four kids, and he lives in California, so prices and kids and mouths to feed. So what he was asking me about, he's known that I've done real estate for a long time. Like, hey man, how can I do what you're doing? I was at a wedding for a mutual friend a couple months ago. Actually, it was quite a while ago now. It was about a year ago. And he came up to me at the end. He's like, "Man, I love what I do, but I really want to do what you're doing." And that's when I opened up the conversation. I was like, "Okay, well, we have investments, right? I mean, right now, as of fast forward today, we have over 20 properties actively under contract and getting more under contract every day and selling those other ones that are currently under contract. But at that time, we had a little bit less, maybe 10 to 15. So I said, yeah, we have a handful of deals right now. Like, you can potentially invest in real estate on the debt side. And of course, I had to explain to him what that meant. But I think the value in bringing up and kind of discussing this part of the conversation when, for those of you just tuning in, this is my wife. When I was dating her, when I first met her, I told her what I did. She thought it was shady. You might be, you watching might be in a similar situation where, you're wanting to get into real estate investing, and and believe in your heart, this is not some sort of shady get rich quick scheme. It's not what it is. It can be a get rich, it can be quick, but it's not a scheme. And then your partner or girlfriend or wife, they're thinking the opposite of you. So the way in which to broach that topic with them, to let them see, hey, what is it that you can say, and what can you share that's going to let them know, hey, I'm wanting to do this not because it's a get rich quick scheme, but because I want to provide for our family, future family, whatever your relationship is with that person. But that's why I asked the question to Veronica. I'm like, hey, what was it that specifically? And it sounds like the private money lending stuff was what really opened your mind to why it's not shady, right?
Yes, and just to clarify, I didn't think that you were shady, my love. I knew that I didn't know enough about what you do, to connect the dots. So just wanted everyone to know I didn't make the decision to marry someone that I thought was shady. That would be a huge leap of faith.
That's weird. That would be weird. Why would you do that? I mean, stranger things have happened in this
Right.
world, so
Yes, this is true.
whatever. All right, so I'm gonna take you off of the spotlight and stop berating you with
Thank you.
questions.
I
You have a
appreciate
couple
that.
more. I know that. So, what are some of the other ones?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll turn the tables back around. My turn to ask you a question. Um, okay, this is something that I know you're a huge advocate evangelist for is scaling your business. How do you know when it's time to scale, especially if you're a newer investor? And what are typically the first business activities that you start to outsource?
Man, how do you know when it's time to scale?
When it's time to make it easy, how do you know when?
How do you know when it's time to make it easy? There you go. She said the thing on the shirt. Okay. How do you know when it's time to scale, and how do you know what positions to outsource first, basically, is the question, right?
Yes.
Okay. The truth is, it's going to depend on what your business goals are. So if you haven't set your business goals yet in terms of financial, deal volume, and all of that's going to be dictated market to market. But I'll tell you this, when you're in a position where your business is making money, you're doing deals, and you find yourself spending more time than if you were to have, like, say, a 9 to 5, right? Being on the grind all the time, getting away from the grind. That's what we try to focus on as a result for what we're doing here, teaching, training, educating. Because you're on the grind all the time, your business owns you. You don't own your business. You guys know Michael Gerber, the E-Myth. He wrote that book. He wrote one specifically for real estate investing. And when he said, what you got to do to become an entrepreneur is not be managing your business, not be in your business being the technician, but that means you are able to remove yourself from your business and have it operate without you. That's what true entrepreneurialism is. So how do you know when you're ready to scale? When you're at a point where you're only perpetually the technician in your business. And I've talked about this a lot. And when you say evangelical about this, I guess that's an appropriate term. Because, when you're showing up to work at a normal 9 to 5 job, you get to get off the clock at, say, 5, right? And you go home, and most of the time you're not taking it with you, and you're done. And you don't have to pay any payroll taxes, fees for being a business owner. You don't have to pay the state any of those LLC fees or S corp fees or any of that stuff. And you don't have any of that risk on that side of being a business owner. You have all of that risk, and you're your employer, you're your employee. So all of that stuff can be super overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. And when you know it's time to scale, you're going to be in a position where you are tired of trading more time for dollars. That's really the bottom line, because you can scale cheaply. You can have commission only sales reps. So that means that they only get paid for results. Yeah, and we actually have commission only sales reps as well, right? We have paid on staff people, but we have commission only sales reps. We have commission only setters, even for our real estate investing made easy business, because obviously, we have products and services that help other real estate investors make it easy, right? That's what's up.
Awesome. That's really helpful to know. It's cool that it's not just like after 2 years or after 1 year. It's like you mentioned, it's a point in time where you're tired of trading time for dollars. And I love that you mentioned that you can scale cheaply, because I think most people, whether it's in real estate investing or just starting a business on your own, most people feel like, oh, I just have to do the work myself because hiring somebody out would be too costly and I can't afford it. So I appreciate you sharing, that part of scaling cheaply too.
Yeah, when it comes to scaling cheaply, most people think that it even comes down to, like, oh, when you say cheaply, I'm sure what you're saying is I could hire a virtual assistant, like remotely, whether it's in Pakistan or whether it's in the Philippines or somewhere else. And that's true. You can, sure, because of the exchange rate, right? But you can also, one thing that I would caution you against, because I haven't answered your question, what roles to outsource first, but
Right.
the truth is when it comes to outsourcing or scaling your business, you do not want to just for the sake of expediency in the scale hire a partner, a business partner. Don't
Mm,
partner just because you think that's the fastest way for me to scale. Because that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Being a coach for a long time, I saw that happen time and time again, and I didn't partner with anybody for over a decade of working a 9 to 5 job because I loved it. It was a coach, as a real estate investor. That's what I was doing, and then also flipping houses, right, to
right.
practice what I preach. But at the end of the day, like I saw too many newer investors, they partnered with the wrong person, and everything fell apart. And it's like a marriage. You don't want to marry the wrong person.
Right.
I mean, I didn't. That's my wife. So getting brownie points. No, but that's a good question. And then I'm just curious because I know I'm going to answer the what to scale first. I love your takeaways and your bottom lines. What do you get out from that? Like, what is your biggest takeaway from that?
um, the biggest takeaway about the roles to outsource first, or about the first part of the question about,
All of it.
I mean, I think I shared basically my biggest takeaway, which is, it's time to scale when you're tired of trading time for dollars. And I will say this, what came to mind kind of, this is less of a bottom line and more of an observation is, obviously I'm your wife and I've seen you over the past, few years of our marriage continue to grow your business. And the truth is, there were nights where you were working late, and you were working longer than me, and I work a 9 to 5, where you're putting in, blood, sweat, and tears into the business. But what is really neat is it has ebbs and flows and seasons. And there are also been many seasons where you were able to choose the hours that you work, when you worked, what you were working on, who you were working with. Um, and I think it's great that you encourage other investors, to take that step of scaling. Because I know if I were in the shoes of starting my own investing business, I would feel like a couple things. I would feel like it would be too expensive to pay somebody out to start, to help me with my business. And then secondly, I would kind of feel like, oh, until I know how to do what I'm doing perfectly, I don't really want to bring somebody new into the picture. And maybe that's just my type A personality. But you know, I remember early on, we would have conversations about scaling, and I would think to myself like, oh my goodness, like you guys are just growing your business and you have money to hire a bunch of people out. And for you, it was just like, once you learn how to do it, that's time to teach somebody else how to do it and move on to the next thing. So that's something that I learned just through observation of you.
I'm really glad that you said that because that's something that I forgot to mention. You're right. And in action in past in history, you saw that happen in with me. Once you learn how to do something, if it's a minimum wage activity, that's how you know to let that go. So when it comes to what roles to outsource first, like, and we have guys, how to hire virtualassistants.com, the VA hiring masterclass.com, all these sites or whatever, you guys can get more information about how to scale your business and all that stuff with employees because we have those systems. But just the cut to the chase here, when you're going to hire somebody and outsource that portion of your business, you should know how to do it first. You should
Mm,
have not necessarily a mastery. And one big failure spot is make sure that you're not worried or too concerned about them doing it as good as you because they don't need to do it as good as you. They only need to do it 70 to 80% as good as you.
mm. And I'm sure you've had situations where perhaps there are people that are able to do it even better than you did because they're investing a lot more time and energy and effort into learning the craft. And I mean, I can imagine that's when you have an all-star team, is when you got those specialists and technicians that are doing those things. They're focused, on those pieces, and they're doing them really, really well.
Yeah, that's true. So you got another question for me?
Okay, let's change it up because we talked a little bit about, your personal business and scaling it. A question that I have had since recently, since you've been investing all over the country, is like, how do you start investing in renting out properties that are outside of your direct area? And what relationships in those areas do you need to have in place, if any?
For the most part, you always need the same relationships in whatever area that you're investing because you're going to be transacting real estate. So you need a title company, escrow company, or an attorney if you're an attorney state that closes with attorneys as opposed to escrow or title. And you're going to need relationships with agents. You're going to need relationships with other investors who are rehabbing properties or buying and holding them. If you're going to wholesale, that is buyers. Also, just to open the door to everyone else that I mentioned, because, ultimately, birds of a feather flock together. They're in the industry. But here's the thing, the how to, right? Did you ask more along the lines of like, how am I going to actually determine and know what market to invest in? Because we invest all over the country.
That's another layer of that question.
Yeah.
But my initial question was just like, how do you get started? Like,
Yeah.
let's say we live in Prescott, Arizona. Let's say I'm investing in properties in Arizona, and I've heard, friends and family live in Texas, and there's a great opportunity out there, and I want to get started investing in properties in Texas. Just when I was asking, how do you even do that?
I
How do
love
you wrap
it.
your brain around that?
I love it. So virtually investing, how do you come right out of the gate not knowing anything and virtually investing in real estate? Dude, that is such a good question. I would do this. I'm just going to show you. Can I just show you
Yeah,
how
that
to
would
do
be
that?
awesome.
All right, I'm going to show you. You go on to, and I'm going to do this, but I hope I know the login because my team, we're talking about scale here. Okay, you go to privy.com or privy, I think it's Get Privy Now. Okay, Get Privy Now. I know I'm just getprivynow.com. I think that's what it is. And then when you're inside of Privy, obviously you want to log in. Hopefully okay, good. I know what I'm doing. Oh my goodness. They changed the password.
They changed the password
Because
on
we're
here.
scaling our team. Hold on a second. So let me walk you guys through this. Go to Privy, look at where the investor activity is. So Veronica, your example was, hey, I got friends in Texas. They said it's a hot market. I want to get into investing in real estate. I'm going to do it virtually. I live in Arizona. That's the
Right,
context.
that is the question.
Get Privy. And I'll leave a link
Okay.
to an affiliate if you guys want to support the channel in our, later in there. But either way, get Privy, and then you can research your investor competition. And really, regarding your competition is your biggest asset is what I would recommend you do, because at the end of the day, like, you need them just as much as they need you. You'll be able to see transaction history, like from a 5,000-foot overview all the way down to literally street to street to street. What properties are being bought and sold, flipped by investors specifically. So search by investor activity, and that way you'll be able to actually know, well, what market in
That
this
is
area
smart.
should I be investing in? Because that's where your buyers are, especially if you're starting to wholesale.
You're following the dollars.
That's right. There's a money trail. That's what you're saying right
Yeah.
now. There's a money trail. Good, good. I love it. So short of showing you guys, we have a whole lot of Privy training, and we go over this exact topic on the channel, Real Estate Investing Made Easy. So one of the playlists is all about Privy. Check that out. I was going to show you, but my team changed the password because we I don't know. You're talking about stepping out of your business, removing yourself from the daily grind. I'm Real Estate Investing Made Easy, right? My business, real estate investing business, is basically on autopilot in terms of what I do. So my business partner, though, he's scaling himself. He's at a kind of a position where I am with that, and we have a team that's growing every day. So
That's awesome.
really good question. Really good question. Thanks for that. So what's your next question?
Okay, my next question. Okay, you kind of touched on that. What are the best markets to be virtually investing in right now?
You're funny.
What? I'm just recycling the question you asked because I'm curious about it.
What are the best markets to be virtually investing in?
Yes.
It depends on your strategy. What are you doing? You're going to wholesale? You're going to buy and hold? You're going to fix and flip?
Well, okay, I'm going to turn that question right back around and say, what are the best strategies for the current real estate market right now?
So it's every single one of them. Every single strategy that you could possibly think of are the best because it depends market to market nationally. So if you're looking to get a buy and hold, like rent out something, whether it's an LTR or an STR, long-term or short-term rental, you have to understand the market. And one way in which to do that, let's just say is go back to Privy, for an example, to determine where the investors are. And then guess what? You can export a list of those investors. You can text message market to them in bulk. You could skip trace that list and then get their phone numbers, call them. Hey, I don't know this market, right? You're calling them without knowing their market, getting into real estate investing virtually right away. Hey, what are you seeing? Like, what areas are the best? Are you buying and holding? Asking them all these questions like, oh, are you investing in short-term rentals in this market? Right? Texas, for example, Austin. I know we don't invest in Austin, Texas, that we have before, but we don't currently. But I know there's a lot of regulations for STR, like Airbnb, stuff like that. The more regulations, the more people are going to go away.
Right.
But then again, in the same way that for SMS marketing, text message marketing, A2P 10DLC came out and like it scared a lot of investors away. Lead Sherpa went out of business because of the mass text blasts and all that stuff.
Wow.
When it scared everybody else, they ran for the hills, we ran into the valley, right? So there's something to be said about that as far as your investment strategy, but dictate your risk tolerance first, understand what you're willing to accept, whether it's a success or a failure, and then, let your strategy be dictated by numbers, analysis, not by hearsay. But you can get that good, solid information on good authority by top investors in those areas, finding them first with Privy, or of course, if you have like Investor Lift, because that's something that we use as well.
I'm curious, when you reach out to those investors that are doing well in those markets, do they ever feel threatened by you coming into their territory?
No, think of it this way. So let's just say that I am going to be you're a lemonade stand owner. Okay. You're a lemonade stand owner, and I'm coming to you, and you have a lemonade stand, and I'm coming to you and say, hey, I make lemonade too. The first initial thought might be, you're my competition.
Right.
But then I say, more than that, I actually provide the lemons and the clean, fresh mountain spring water. That's like I love doing that more than anything else. And I oftentimes get clean, fresh mountain spring water and fresh lemons right off the tree, right out of the aquifer. And it's so good. I put it through an RO machine. It's amazing. And I spend a lot of time doing that and mastering my craft at that to produce just the perfect cup of lemonade. How would you like to get these items at a discount and buy them for your own lemonade stand?
Well, if you're getting them straight from the source, I can see where that would be. Okay, now draw the lines a little bit more for me. So what is it, as you're coming in and talking to these real estate investors, what are the raw materials that you're providing them that wouldn't be a threat to their business in that area?
The marketing and the result of the marketing.
Okay.
That is wholesaling properties to them because they're fix and flipping them, or they're buying and holding them. And you know how much marketing is? You know how much money we spend on marketing month over month over the last couple months?
A lot.
$25,000 a month. Do you think that most people can spend $25,000 a month on marketing? Probably not.
No.
But if they had a choice, instead of spending $25,000 a month on marketing, instead of not spending anything on marketing and just getting handed these opportunities on a silver platter, which one would they want to take?
They would want to take the ones that are handed to them on a silver platter.
Right. So seasoned real estate investors and even newer ones who are fixing and flipping, but they have their gears all working together in synchronicity, and they're really, they've developed a good flipping business. Like, their niche is flipping. Your niche, in my example, is selling lemonade because you're the best freaking lemonade salesman on the face of the planet. Your product is okay, but I'm about to make your product even better.
Very cool. Okay, those lines make a lot more sense now.
I've never used that example before. I just came up with it right now. So
now I really want lemonade. So
yeah,
that was the result of that conversation.
Well, we do have some kids that normally during the summer on our street sell lemonade. We had some the other day, didn't we?
We do. Yeah, Ruthie and Nellie.
Right across the street.
50 cents a cup.
Dang.
Which went up significantly. I don't know about you, babe, but when I was growing up, lemonade was like 15 cents.
I was milking cows, riding bulls, riding horses, running. I wasn't making lemonade. Anyway, I appreciate that question so much. I hope that was a valuable answer to everybody else who's watching as well. So, what else you got?
Okay, So we've got probably time for one more question before we close things out, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, I gotta pick a good one.
You guys were taking questions live too, so go ahead and throw them in there.
If there's a question from the audience, definitely take that one on. I guess I will end with this one. Back to the quote unquote shady piece. How do you overcome skepticism about those non-traditional financing strategies? You know, like you mentioned, the three more popular exit strategies, and then there's a bunch of other ones that you guys are working right now. How do you overcome skepticism when speaking to potential sellers and real estate agents?
Well, first, it's building rapport, right? People want to work with people they know, like, and trust. So if you're obviously putting yourself in a position with a same side of the table discussion, as opposed to you're over here and they're over here, no, get side by side. That is going to make your job easier to broach the topic of creative financing. But it's also the way in which that you communicate what that is. Like, I was talking to somebody last night who, about sandwich lease options and lease options, and also rent to own. And one of the ways that I positioned is that you're not going to call when you see a for rent sign somebody and say like, hey, I just wanted to make an offer on your house. They say, oh, it's for rent. I'm not selling. Okay, great. As opposed to picking up the phone when for rent can mean for sale, everybody, and saying like, hey, I'd love to rent your property. It looks like it's still available, right? Yeah, it's still available. Cool. How do you feel about, renting out to me for a couple of years and then me potentially just buying it from you? We're talking about renting it right now, and they may be open to a lease option, right? And then of course, if you're an investor and you're looking to fill somebody in there, then you could do a sandwich lease option. Or if you don't want to do any of that and there's no equity, then you can do a slot deal, which is a sandwich lease option transfer, which we talk about in the Creative REI Intensive, which you can go check out more about at getcreativerei.com. Nice plug, I know. So anyway, the idea is you have to communicate effectively to that person in a way in which it's going to give them assurance that, one, you know what the heck you're talking about in the first place. You actually have their best interests at mind. And more than that, have their best interest at mind, right? Creative financing strategies, they're all legal. I have people, realtors, newer realtors, who said that sounds illegal, but it's all in like our car forms in California. Subject to the existing mortgage, seller financing. Those are all described in the National Association of Realtor documents across the country. So it's nothing that is uncommon. And that's the reality. So just reassuring them like all this stuff is above board and legal. Like these are all legal contracts, and you're using a third party. You're still using escrow.
Right.
So I think that's really the way to broach that topic with people. And it also has to make sense too. So you don't want to suggest a particular exit. For you, it's an exit, right? That's the solution for someone else that doesn't make sense for them.
Right.
So have their best interests at heart, and then you're going to go a lot further. And when if you don't know how to say something, right, or bring up that topic, then practice with, watching videos like this. We have a lot of creative financing, free content here on YouTube as well.
And you guys are really good at it.
Well, Chris closes your deal.
He's really good at it.
I'm just okay. I'm just a pretty face with no sleep because we have kids. That's what
you were a lot more than that, my love.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, everybody, I think that's going to do it for us here at Real Estate Investing Made Easy. Everybody, if you have any questions as you watch the replay, link them in the comments. I said link them like it said. Put them in the comment section, and we'll be answering them as it comes. But hey, check out reimadeeasyofficial.com. That's our new website. Poke around. Tell me how much it's awesome or where I misspelled a word because I built it. I don't know why. It was fun. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one where together we're going to continue to make real estate investing easy.